here are the top 3 foods I would eat every day if you want to die as fast as possible. So starting with coffee. Coffee just ages you faster because it is so acidic. Your body has to buffer that with calcium, which is getting it from your bones and your teeth. So you lose your teeth, you lose your bones. It sets the stage for osteoporosis. It ages you faster because it's so dehydrating. You get more wrinkles. It kills your adrenals, so you get more adrenal fatigue. Coffee is great for that.
No. Let's stop the video right here, and I'm promising you the video will actually get a little bit more ridiculous than this. Coffee consumption may actually be beneficial for our health, as this umbrella review of meta-analysis of multiple health outcomes shows. By the way, this review included 201 meta-analyses of observational studies and 17 meta-analyses of interventional studies. So this is a pretty huge, large data set that we have at our disposal here. And just to go through a couple of findings, this review shows a positive association between drinking 3 to 4 cups a day of coffee versus none in all-cause mortality, cardiovascular mortality, cardiovascular disease, and lower risk of cancer incident. And again, they actually looked at many more health outcomes. Let's get back to the video.
Second one is vinegar, including apple cider vinegar. Vinegar, as same as coffee, is so acidic, it will deplete your hydrochloric acid in your stomach, ages you faster because it's also so dehydrating.
Second, no. Our blood always has a pH level between 7.36 and 7.44. If the pH level of the blood goes above 7.44, so it becomes more alkaline, your body will do everything it can to bring it down to 7.44 again. And the same thing happens if your blood becomes too acidic. So if your blood pH level drops beneath 7.36, guess what? Your body will do everything it can to bring it up again. So whether you're too alkaline or too acidic, both is not good for you. And for you to state otherwise without providing any evidence, sorry, this is a huge, extraordinary claim. And huge, extraordinary claims require huge, extraordinary evidence because it goes against the whole body of evidence that we have accumulated so far. Let's continue with the video.
And last but not least, if you want to die soon, you have to eat lots of eggs because eggs feed all kinds of pathogens in our body like Epstein-Barr virus, Streptococcus, shingles virus, which create autoimmune diseases and all kinds of other chronic health symptoms, which will help you to die faster. So follow me for more tips like this.
And this is the third no. So we will talk about eggs and health outcomes in just a bit. But what does this dude actually think happens when we eat eggs? He makes it sound like it's the same thing as, leaving eggs on a shelf and let them rot there. Our bodies are a little bit more complicated than that because, our body, in order to absorb nutrients, we need to break down the foods. But let's talk about something more interesting, eggs and health outcome. Most studies that have looked at high egg consumption have done so by adjusting for cholesterol. Adjusting for cholesterol is something that you don't want to do when you want to look at eggs and its effect on our health. Why? Well, let's just put it this way. What does actually adjusting mean? Adjusting means we are trying to equal the playing field. For example, it wouldn't really be fair to compare someone that drinks 1 glass of wine on average per week against someone that drinks a whole bottle of wine every single day, because we all know that alcohol is not really beneficial for our health. That's where the adjustment model comes in, so a multivariate adjustment model. This is where you compare people with the same alcohol consumption, the same BMI, the same physical activities, the same diseases that they have, and so on and so forth. Eggs contain a lot of cholesterol. And if you adjust now with cholesterol, you are basically nullifying the effects of eggs. And this is not a really fair thing to do. And quite frankly, I don't understand why researchers actually do that. Let's look at the studies that have not fall into this trap. But before we do that, we have to realize something. When we consume dietary cholesterol, such as from eggs, for example, in order to absorb that dietary cholesterol, we need to have receptors present. That receptor is called Niemann-Pick C1-like-1 receptor. And depending on your genetics, you have a high amount of those receptors or just a small amount. If you have a small amount of those receptors, you just absorb a small amount of cholesterol. If you have a high amount of these receptors present in your small intestine, then you can consume a lot of dietary cholesterol. And the following systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized controlled clinical trials just looked at that and actually did something really neat. As you can see in the forest plot present here, they divided the studies in which they actually did not report on those genetic differences. The graph is being present at the top. Just underneath the not reported ones, you can actually see the hyperresponders, so the people that have a lot of these Niemann-Pick C1-like-1 receptors present. And of course, the hyporesponders are the ones that don't have a lot of these receptors laying in their small intestines. The not reported ones are not really reliable because the data is actually quite all over the place. Although it shows an increase in LDL cholesterol. The hyporesponders, however, show the biggest increase in LDL of all the different groups. The hyporesponders, not so much. And you can actually see that the average for all these studies combined showed an increase of LDL cholesterol overall. We actually have way more data looking at this specific question. This updated systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized clinical trials looked at the responses of different dosages of egg consumption on blood lipids. And as you can see here, the effects are very similar to the ones that we actually have seen before. So to spell out the results in the words of the researchers. The overall findings of the present studies indicate there is a positive linear correlation between consumption of greater than 1 egg per day and the alteration of blood lipids in studies conducted in healthy populations and lesser than 12 weeks in duration. However, this effect was less predominant in subjects that consumed a lesser amount of 1 egg per day. And of course, we also have observational data that actually did not adjust for cholesterol. This prospective cohort study looked at nearly 30,000 participants and had a median follow-up period of 17.5 years. They came to the conclusion that each additional 300 milligrams of dietary cholesterol consumed per day, that's roughly 1 egg per day, significantly increased the risk for cardiovascular disease incidence, all-cause mortality, and they even came to the conclusion that each additional half an egg consumed per day was significantly associated with high risk of incident for cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. And to bring the point home for adjusting for dietary cholesterol consumption, we can actually see the following. Adjusting for dietary cholesterol made the effects disappear. So adjusting for dietary cholesterol is something that you don't want to do with your studies because it's going to nullify the effects or the potential effects that egg have on our health. There you have it. What are your thoughts about this topic? Feel free to let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching and I'll see you during my next post.